Welcome back to Man Cave Models. Today we're going to start by doing a few, I'd say panel line stroke washes on the Tamiya GMC. As you can see from the last video, after doing the chipping and the decals, I've given this a second gloss ready for obviously panel, the washes and the panel lining. We do it because with oil paint, we're going to use oil paints, by the way, with oil or enamel washes on a matte surface. When you put it on, it will soak into the matte paint rather than flow. With a gloss, it lets it flow. So when we look at doing, say, this panel line here, as you can just see, so if we can get you a bit better, there you are, you can see that panel line there, look. If I did that on a matte surface, I would just end up with a blur of a wash that way and a blur of wash that way, and it will soak in and you won't get it back out. Sometimes you might want that effect, but on this at the moment we don't. So today we are going to use oil paints. Yes, you can buy plenty of other different types of washes. AK do washes, and a lot of people do different washes. This is going to be, I'm trying to do this so it's the cheapest version in the long run, and it's really old school anyway. It's the sort of thing we would have done a long time ago. So let's just move this camera up a bit so we can't get a little bit of a better picture. There you go, there you go, there we go. So I've got, that's an ivory black, and that is a raw umber. Raw umber is more of a dirty browny colour, and then obviously the black to darken it out when we want to, or for your panel lines as well. So we mix the two and get two. So for this we're going to use, I'm going to use, you can use what you like, two cocktail thingies, one for thinners and one for your mix. And we are going to use, well, I've got normal thinners. And the reason I have normal thinners, normally I would use odorless thinners, but somebody emptied me pot and I have to order some more, but I haven't ordered it, so I'm going to have to use normal thinners. I'm not happy about it because it stinks. But so if you are buying these, which you can buy in, anywhere, Hobbycraft, Range, places like that, they do oil colours, not acrylic, oils. Get yourself some thinners, and if you can get odorless thinners, get odorless thinners. It's a lot better for you, in the sense you don't have to put up that stink. So yeah, so let's go and dig out my thinners and start mixing some thinners up, some washes up, sorry. So I'm going to start off with raw umber. If I can open it, bear with me a minute. Yeah, sorry about that. I had to go and find a pair of pliers to open it. And guess what? In here, there's tools all over the place, but can I find a set of pliers? No. So I'm not going to go too mad with this first one because I'm going to try and use it just in the panel lines. So I want to add a bit of that, and this isn't going to go very far. And I want to add a little bit of the black. It's going to go, this could go horribly wrong. Yeah, I don't want too much. I don't want it to be too these oil paints I've had for years, absolute years. And what you get out of them for the price is amount, you know, for the amount you use them, it is pretty good, really. You see this. So now what you can do is, if you're going to stick with using oils, like I said on the, I think I said it on the last one, is your old empty tamiya pots, clean them out and mix it in that, and when you're done, just put the lid on afterwards, makes a nice amount. When you're done, then you can, yeah, it's quite, can you see the consistency of this? So it's thick but not too thick, so it's more like, I don't know, I'd say that's more of a, like a really, well, like coffee sort of mix. So there's still plenty on the stick. So I've done this for, I want to just put it in panel lines and stuff like that for a minute before I go too mad. Brush. This brush. So I don't. You can use what you want. If you want to go and buy a mate brand of washes and stuff, then go ahead. You know, that's what it is, whatever suits you. But for what all I'm trying to do by doing it this way is for people that are just started, haven't got lots of money, and I'm not being horrible, but there's so many different products on the market, you never know what you want to buy. And before all that, there was this. So zoom you in a little bit. Yeah, there was this, and it's what we all used to use beforehand. So right, so I'm going to do some of this on camera, then some of it I shall come back to, because it's a lot to do. Plus also remembering with this is you've got to put this in, let it dry off a little bit, and then basically go back after it. You can see what I'm doing. So it probably could be a little bit thinner still. Yeah, let it dry off, and then go back over it with some taps on your brush, so you can feather it in, or you can wipe it off. You know, some people will do a wash and go right over the whole lot. I used to do that. I sort of decided not to do that. There's a lot of cleanup involved with that, where this isn't, doing it this way is not so much on the cleanup side of things. Yeah, you have to clean up, but not to that degree. And sometimes you don't want, you only want it in little areas anyway. You don't want to be cleaning up big areas, because if you do this, you can see it. So don't be, you know, if you go out your airlet, you go out, don't panic, because you'll be able to get it off. But you've got to let it dry off a little bit, otherwise when you go back over with your brush with just thinners, you'll just take everything back off, which is not what you want. You want it to stay in the areas where you, like your panel lines and crevices and stuff. So we can probably, you know, we'll probably do more than just the one color with this, because we want to try and get a dusty effect as well. So you can see the, yeah, you can see a difference there already, can't you? I'll go around that vent. See, the excess will take off once it's had time to dry a little bit. So I'll do this bit and gather at the same time. Through there, definitely down through there. There. Around the lights a little bit. Through here, look. And the hose. This area there you go over with a fair bit if you want. Down through this bit there, along there. Just keep going around slowly. Same with down through here, look. Oh, got the wrong glasses on. It's funny because in here sometimes the light's good and sometimes it's not. I'm trying to find the sort of best solution for the camera, so you can actually see what I'm doing. But yeah, if it goes over in places, don't panic. You'll like I say, you'll be taking a lot of it back off. So. Get your arrow cam. I hope you can see that, but almost looks like a black, doesn't it? Around these parts. And you can thin this out a bit more if you want, to be honest with you. You see that where it runs down there, it runs down the edge of that. It just sits around the areas you put it. That's because you've got the gloss surface. If you did that with a mat, all that would do is it would stain out. So it would just go. So if I put it there, you just end up with a blob which would spread out like that. and then soak into the matte surface, and you wouldn't get that back out. So that's why we avoid using it on a matte surface. So that's probably a few bits to do in there. That's probably, let me see, yeah, so a few areas in here. So this floor in there, you see where we've chipped it and changed a few colours. That floor in there will probably do more of a dusty effect in there, because that's where feet and that would have been, and dust settles more. You get around like that. Yeah, so basically that's one bit done. So that we'll now put aside till it dries off quite well. So it can yeah, you want it virtually dry. So obviously don't leave it. I wouldn't leave it to the next day. That might be a bit tough to get the paint out, but I don't know. It might do it. Maybe I should try it and see how we go with that. So we've got that instrument panel. Notice I haven't had the windscreen yet. Reason for that is because I didn't want to mask it off yet. I will be looking at doing it pretty soon though, because we've got obviously a matte coat to go over this, and it's just more and more of a build up a layer of paint. So the more layers of paint that we're putting on, less chance we have of our parts actually fitting. You see the details starting to come out. Oh, mind you, I say that. We got back that side, didn't I? There we go. Alright, I'm going to carry on with this a minute and I shall be quiet. I might be able to do this so it actually speeds through a bit quicker. You may have noticed I've pulled the wheels off. Here you go, I pulled the wheels off. because if I put a wash in the wheel as it is, then stand it like that, obviously it's all going to just drip down and not stay where you want it. So if you can get them flat, it'll make life a lot easier for the washes for you. Now, being the chassis that we're on at the moment, I'm not going to be too worried about. Oh, that's not good, is it? Maybe a bit more thinners on that. I might call a bit of them. You've got to make sure that this stuff's really well mixed as well, because you can sometimes just pick up a bit of the oil paint rather than obviously salt power on it. So all I've done is to try and get that to that's better. That is just dip me brush in a bit of thinners and then scrape that on top. So that's what we're looking at. Okay, you see the difference? And obviously we'll clean some of that off once it's dry. So let's carry on with this one. Let it drip in, run. Right around those edges. Also helps when you're on, especially on these edges, you get it to run in past the tyre. It'll give it if you've missed a little bit of your paint, it'll cover that for you, so you don't just get that weird mix. Where it's like, you know, where you haven't quite got where you wanted to be with it. But yeah, I think that one of the good things about mixing your own oils to a point is it's the consistencies. If sometimes you don't want it overly thin, and sometimes you don't want it overly thick. At least you can judge what works for you by mixing your own, and like I say, it's cheaper. So I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do that in a minute because so I've done that one. So I've got those to do. So what I'm going to do here, so I'm going to be a bit careful around here because I don't want it to. I only want it on certain areas at the moment. Bring out the strap. And you can start minging that up a little bit if you want, because that would be eventually you'll be probably putting fuel stains and stuff in anyway. Some areas there. Down through here, some of these areas are being delicate in some, and in others I'm not going to be, because some of this won't get seen, but also it would probably get a lot grubbier than just a panel line, if you know what I mean. So we're just going to swap it up, and we'll take some of this off again anyway with a big brush, with a damp brush. See what I mean about that? These shot up, so I'm mixing up on these in these shot glasses, and to be fair, it's got a great big lump in there with some a bit stuck out there, and it sort of it causes a few problems because you can't mix everything thoroughly. So yeah, let me just see me. I'll flood this out and get, and then some of this will take back off. So You see it pulling out the detail? Let's carry on like that, down through that section. And there, look. One of those jobs you just plod along gently. Don't drying time on it. It's quite good, so it's not like a panic. With some paints, especially if some you can use probably a getaway with. I have used acrylics for this for washes, but you do have to be pretty quick with it because it will go quite quick on you. You see that? Can you hear? So see the winch? This is tamiya for it. They're good kits. They give you a winch, and the winch wire is string. And it doesn't matter how much you paint this and do that, when you go to paint that as a steel, which it will be, it's a nightmare. It's because it just furs up all the time. Why can't they just mold that on, or give you the bits where so it's molded, so you, at least you can paint it to look like steel? It does annoy me. And you can buy a product that will do it for you. It will change it, so you can have steel there rather than the rope. Why should you have to? Some of these kits aren't cheap. They're not. Yeah, like I say, they're not cheap. And then you buy it, and then the next thing you know, you're spending another, I don't know, £10 here, £20 there. Or why just can they not add these little bits sometimes? So if you remember, I said when we chipped this, it's quite a worn out area. We will go back over this with a rustier, not too rusty, but a rustier colour, so it'll change that area a little bit for you. So it's a little bit rusty. So that I've gone just pouring it in there. Really, I will through here. Same with that. I say we will clean a lot of this off. I'm going a little bit mad actually in some places, because then I can show you that you can. So I'm always scary about doing a nice bit of work on something, especially if you're not used to doing stuff like this, and then going, oh, I'm just going to cover it in that. And you're like, I don't want to ruin what I've done, but you won't. You learn to suss out how to get over your mistakes. There's not much you can't put right. At the end of the day, it's all about learning, isn't it? You either get it right or wrong. It's all part and parcel of the job. Not job, hobby, fun. I've got loads of kits that I've built over the years. yeah, some of them are really nice, but you could probably go back over and do a nicer job somewhere along the line with it, or repaint it and go, oh, I'm happier. But this is still, as I'm doing this kit, this is still, I'm not 100% what I want to put in there yet. So I think I'm just going to go a little bit heavier there. Let's say we'll pull some of this off again in a bit. I'm going to try and pick up the grain. You also find when you do this, once it starts drying back, sometimes you'll get a nice, it will start going back matte for you as well. Right. Try not to gabber for a minute and just get on with that. So that's a quick wash all over. Quite heavy in there. So what I did do was I thinned that wash out a little bit, then put a load in there. We'll let that dry. I want it to be a bit grimy till I decide what I want to do with it anyway. But so basically everything's had a quick wash. Their own panel lines, edges, stuff like that. We'll let that dry for about 20 minutes, half hour, and then come back to it and then start cleaning some of it up. So back in the mow. So off camera, I've gone around a few little areas with burnt sienna, which is really good for a rust. So thin, you can just see it in a pot. So there's a lump of it there, but it is quite, you can see that it's quite thinned out. And I've put that in a few little areas, so you can see here, here, around the front. Some of the places, you know, where we've gone through and we've got bigger chips. I'll let that dry off a little bit more as well, and then we'll get most of that back off. You can see the bumpers, look. Go. We'll let that go a little bit. We'll get most of it off. Around, move that around on the. So most of this is wood. So I'm presuming these bits here might be metal. So where we've got bigger bits of chipping, I've gone round and then put a big bit in and a little bit here, a bit around the back, right in there. I'll let that all dry back, and then when it dries back, then obviously we will be taking a little bit of it back off, like I was saying. So it's just a little quick of an update, and anybody will notice, happens to everybody. Look, I managed to break one of those off just now, so I have to stick that back on when it's all dry. Not a big problem, but you can see like areas like here where now I do think that bit that's there on the original is metal, so I can add a little bit of that thinned out. You won't see it until it's all dry. It will just change, give it a little bit of hint of rust underneath the paint, sort of thing. And like down through little places like this. Yeah. Actually. So, cotton bud. Soaked up a little bit of thinners. Get as much off as I can. I don't want it sopping wet, and then so that little area there, it's quite wet still. And I can take some of that back off. And I'll come back to it again. That bit when it's dry. But if you're doing this, try to follow it down, because rust tends to sort of drip down, doesn't it? When it's, you know, when it streaks down, sort of try and follow that. These are great. These cotton buds are great for this, but the only thing you got to watch is it can leave little bits of fuzz on your kit. So just sort of let it dry, and before you do anything else, like any coats of anything, just give it a brush off with a decent brush to try and get it off. Especially if you're putting a gloss varnish on. So back in the mold. Right, so some of this is dried off quite nicely. So there you can see most of it's dried off here. Look. All we do now is clean brush, just damp down with a little bit of thinners so it's not sopping wet, so it pours it all back off. And you can see there, you can see there, look. So all I'm going to do is clean that up. See, so if I clean up, feather it back in a bit. Try not to go right into your panel line. Now, there's probably loads of different ways of doing this, but what I try to do, keep your brush clean as well, guys. What I try to do is on areas like this is not so much brush marks or brush, brush like that. Dab it into place, and you'll see it does come. It comes off like that. And if you once you get past a certain point, you can manipulate it a little bit better into where you want it to go. So if you notice on the star, I went over the star with some, because obviously I wanted to dirty it up a little bit. But yeah, you can sort of like manipulate it back into place. So that's quite thick there. But I want to. It's the sort of thing that the more you don't be afraid to use oil paints and stuff, or to do this. Just the more you play around with it, the more like knacks you get with it. Like if I've got like a thick area, so take there, that line there. I want to feather that in, so I'll have my brush isn't probably more than I would normally use, and get as much of it sort of out the way as I want. There, that, and with a bit of nice brushful, I'll put it in like that, and that sort of clears a fair bit of it, then feathers it in slightly for you. Same with where it's a little bit rusty, where we want rust. So I don't want harsh edges, so I'm going to put a bit on and let the thinners thin it a little bit and work it where I want it. So it's not so harsh. It's sort of it's an area. You see what I mean? So just gently just work your way around. So a bit harsh there, really. Remember, this is that bit I showed you where you get that shadow. Where I put it all across there. Well, that we'll get rid of. There, and you can always come back in with a little bit more. But the knack is, at the end of the day, do not, try not to leave it on too long. Last thing, you don't really want it going off to the point that it's dried enough that it won't go back on. Same over here, look. You see there? Get you in the light a little bit better. No. There, that's it. So we'll get rid of that. So it's just in the panel line more than it is there. Same with there. Same through here. Now, these bits are always, I find, always awkward because it's a bit hard to work out what you want to do with those bits. Now there, look, interestingly enough, you can see the chip in there, look, in there, and we could do just adding a little bit of rust to that. Put a little bit on. Give me brush a little bit. Yeah, I'll just dab that in slightly. There, a little bit more. Leave me brush, and now I can get rid of some of it. Brush again. And if I want a streak, obviously, so I want a few little just there, but not too much. There, so I get a nice little rusty area. Let that dry back now. You just got, you can just play with it a little bit. It's fine. Like I say, sometimes if you put, I put a bit more on, or a bit more thinners on, and it'll make it go like that. All right, sort of like that around where you want it to go. So I'll put a little bit in here. There, look. So yeah, just in there, thin that out a little bit. So as you can see, I've done a bit of rusting up through here. No. Well, I'm not sure how rusty these would got, but I would think most bare metal places would have a fair bit of rust in them, or surface rust at least. So you've got to think also a few places where you would get standing water, which could create rust, is in here, because that's where water, if it gets wet, it will stay. A little bit in there wouldn't hurt. But then also it's down to how dirty you want, or old and beat up you want your kit as well. You don't have to put loads of rust on. You can just get away with doing a dark wash and then a dusty wash and leave it at that if you wanted. But just play around with it. You've got time. So I think that's as far as I want to go with that one for a minute. So I did do some rusting on some of the wheels as well, and I've taken off some. Here you can see, right, so here you can see on that one, there it is, you see just here, it's more of a line of oil. Just give that a little bit of a clean off. Yeah, look, there's one there, look. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see it. It's just there's a proper line, like a tide mark line. So we just get rid of that. Keep your brush clean. So you see, while I'm on the subject, so that's like there, you can just see a bit of rust in there. Don't go too mad with it, but you can see what I mean by the colour. As you do this, gets darker. The more you put on it, the darker it seems to get. That's why we start off with that lighter base coat, really. So yeah, that we're good to go. That one I want to leave for a bit. This is, yeah, look, you can see this petrol tank in that quite nicely. It looks a bit rough now, doesn't it? So we'll get into that bit in a minute. Yeah, so you can see here, look, clearly it's a bit scruffy, isn't it? So do the same. You can use a bigger brush. I've got a small brush that you can, just as long as you clean it off. Obviously you don't want it to it's a bit of a crappy old brush, but I'm not after straight lines. I'm after irregular. We do get, I suppose you do get straight lines, but not the way we want it today. So, there's a difference already, look. They'll look completely different once they dry back as well. So don't be afraid of putting obviously the oils on in places, because you will end up taking them back off again. So probably not how some people do it, it's just the way I've do it. So there's quite a bit on there. Let's, we want to take a bit of that off anyway. I put a bit more on than I wanted. We can get a few streakies going on that. Same here. No, sort of semi blend that in, because there you go. The bottom, that's quite thin. That I want it to. The reason I'm sort of flooding it a little bit, so I want that to blend itself rather than me taking it off, because it's areas like that it would get wet. The rust would run with the water, so the staining, and then it would hang around like the bottom of. Would hang around the bottom of there. Same with these, same with the ones on the back. So. Yeah. Chopping up. Famous Sunday roast. Same with in here. Right. Do a little bit just down here. I've added a fair bit on there. Luckily, what I'll probably need to do with this one is a little bit of a flatter brush. Really get some off. And just in these areas, try and get some off that. Oh, look, two broke. So that's what you don't want, is it? It can leave a bit of a straight line. I don't want that. So I don't know. I got looking with the light on there. That looks like grain, so it may not be wood. They're metal. Right. Check that bit. That's how I think. But from here, I think that bit's pretty good. So I'm thinking it needs, right, let me get some of this off on the wood bit. Maybe a bit in there, which I'm going to do with that. Same with down here. Centre then I want there. And I'm going to leave that as it is for a minute and let that dry. So I think for a minute we'll let that all dry back and then come back to it with a bit of a dustier wash. Alright. Alright, so we've let the wash dry off. As you can see, nice and dry now anyway. So I'm going to start with another wash on this. So the colours we're going to be using for the next wash are, well, I was going to go and use something that I've already bought, which was MIG, and that is Kursk soil, but I'm not going to, because I'm going to stick with the oil paint, and I've got to find the two colours. There you go. So I like the idea, obviously with the dust, it's to create a dustier effect in around places. So if excuse the size of this is white, so I've got this massive. So I've gone for that's blank tea. It's like it's just white. That's the easiest way to explain that name. Look, that is massive. Look at my hand. That's how big the tube is. So I've gone for a white and a yellow ochre. Okay. Now the colour that gives me is when you mix this, is basically, it's not the colour you think you'd probably use, to be honest. but it's that. Now that's like a very pale, just in case my camera's not picking up, skin colour. Yeah, and you think, oh my god, that sounds weird, but it does give you a good dust effect. So I've done a little bit off camera just to get it going. So if I pop the seat out of this a minute, so if you can you see the dust on the, there you go, you see the dust on the sides of the bottoms of the seat. Floor pan in there now. There you go. So nice bit of dust around the edges where you get dust. Also, I've done here, look, on the footwells where dust would accumulate around a jerry can. Down through that crease there, look. Same on the other side. Spin it for a minute. There you go. On the other side. You can see the floor pan a lot better now. I've added an extra light. So yeah, you see that? So that's what we're going to go for. So I'll do a little bit and probably Gabber at the same time, if I can remember where I put the turps. Sorry, thinners. What do I do with that? It's like ding, 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 gone. I haven't been anywhere to lose anything. Well, I have, because this is like 2 days after doing the first oil wash. So I've left it. It has been left to dry. Only because obviously, like everybody else, we've all got other things to do, work, and other things. I've got about, believe it, I've got a couple of kits I'm already doing. So while I'm doing this, I'm not doing what I want, what I'm supposed to be doing. Now that's the way it goes. What the hell? I've been robbed. Somebody's robbed me bloody thinners. It's in a big pot. I can't lose it. Right. I'll be back in a sec. Hang on. So, right in front of me face all along. I hadn't been robbed. I'll take that all back. I could have been. I don't know. So, with this, basically, you don't need, put that there, you don't need a lot. And this is, it's basically mixed as it comes out the tube. So it's pretty thick. I'm not thinning it out because I don't want to thin it out. Not because I can't be bothered, but I will. So we're going to start underneath, sort of here, and as you can see, I'm not putting a lot on. That's probably more than I need. That same over here, down through the bottom of here, up through here, along here. You got to sort of, when you're doing stuff like this, you've got to think where dust and all this accumulates. So like around here. I really do not want to go too mad with this. You see where I'm putting it? Yeah, cool. Yeah. You see, like, I'm not putting a lot on at all. It's a little bit like when you see somebody doing an oil dot, or I think, I don't know what they call it, an oil dot filter, where they got all the different colours they put in. Well, it's a bit like that. So you're just trying to control the amount that you're putting in. So that will probably do me for a minute on what I'm putting in. So into cleanish thinners. That was some cleanish. So dab, and I want to start pulling this out. Now, if you notice, I'm not doing any brush strokes. I'll dab this. Now the brush is I'm basically I'm dipping it in, and I'm taking a little bit off, but I'm not drying it right out. And we'll find we'll go back over this in a minute. Now you see, I was just flooding a few little areas because I want some of this to run into places as well. I know we've been along and done panel lines, but the darkness will still show through the dust sort of thing still. I did this technique on my M8 Greyhound on the floor because I wanted that nice dusty effect, and yeah, cool. I think it works quite well. If you don't have to do this if you're doing with your kit. You can leave this option out if you like. It's see, we'll go back right over this in a minute. Now this one on these shocks, I want to thin out a little bit, so because I want it to run into a few places as well. It looks a mess at the moment. Just let it flash off a little bit, and come back to it again in a minute. I don't know if you can see that, but just here, looks like I didn't quite gloss it properly, or I missed some of it there. So it's sort of like an in-between. But if you look, can you see that tide mark right in there? So that's an in-between, and that's what I mean when I said about the oil paints will soak right through, and then you won't get them off. That one you can be a bit with this. It does dry. You can see there that it does dry quite light if you leave it. Don't want to leave it so it's that light. And I'll just keep adding a little bit more, thin it down a bit more. See, the way I look at this is if you're doing brush marks, look, you'll see it's just a brush mark. So I tend to try and stipple it a bit. And I suppose with the chassis you'll be looking at coming top and bottom. That's one side for a minute. Give it round. I'll just whiz on with this, and if I need to stop and explain some, I'll stop. But this will probably be like a little fast forward, so you're not I'm not here gabbering for ages. Could end up being a really long video again. All right, hang on. Oh. Right, slightly bigger brush. Take some of this back off. We'll feather it back in a little bit. I want this to look a little bit, you know, like it's been used. I don't want to dust it up too much. It's not what I was trying to do today. But on the same token, I don't want, especially the underside, I don't want it squeaky clean either. You'll be driving this around in the dust and everything. It soon accumulates, doesn't it? But we've got a couple of lorries that turn up in the mornings at work to deliver stuff, and yeah, they're quite new lorries. You look at the underside of them, and boy, they are. Well, black's not black anymore; it's brown, just from road dust and muck. So I think as that dries back, it will dry a little bit different when it dries back. That's the other thing you've got to remember with stuff like this, is what you see now and how it dries back. It changes. So I'll give you an example. Let me just do this. So when I mixed the colours that I wanted to all try, so I thought I'd try. Like I say, I normally use a different. I would normally use the Ammo MIG colour. That's what I have used in the past, and as I thought that, yeah, see, can you see that? Yeah, big dollop. It's come off the where I call it on the tin or something. It happens. It happens. Wouldn't be modern if you didn't do stuff like that. The only good thing is it means I've got a nice bit on my brush. I can come along and bung a bit more under here. Yeah. So I'm not going into not going in for all the muck up underneath and everything. It's like I said, in the day, people build their kits and weather them how they like to weather them. If you want loads of mud, then that's entirely up to you. But I always think sometimes it's a shame to put a lot of effort into something and then hide it all with muck. But that's probably just me. I've done it in the past. Right, so anyway, as I was saying, back to where I was saying. So when I mixed this colour up and I went and done the front, and the floor, and down through there, down through here. I also done the started on the front of this one, the chassis, and you can you see in there, look, it just looks starting to look nice. It just looks grimy, a bit dusty. And camera focus a bit for you. Let's see if I can get that up, because it's just a bit close, that's all it is. I don't know if you can see this. Oh, there you go, look, see it? You can, so grimy, that's starting to look. There you go. But that was, when I did it, looked the same as that. It looked like it was loads. And because you've got a bit of playing around time, you can mess around with it a bit more, let it dry off a bit and take a bit more off, or add a little bit more. But so yeah, don't panic with the colour. Just follow the process and just think, right, when it starts drying back enough, I can go back and read it. So I don't know, let's just try. And then I've left this for a couple of days, and I don't think where that sits. No, so you're not going to see. Can you see there? I don't know if you can see the rusty sort of colour there, look. So I'm going to give that a scrub with the brush a minute. Now bearing in mind I did this a day or so ago. There. So that's the rust colour, and whatever I put on there, gone. That was a day, that was like, so I did it, it's what, Monday, Sunday morning, that was put on, and I've still can go back. So when you do, obviously when you finish, you've got to leave it for a bit to dry, being oils. That is the difference between using that and an oil paint. Oil paint will take a lot longer to dry, but it does give you the thing that you can walk away and think, oh, I didn't see that bit, I missed that, and then come back to it. There's within obviously a certain time period. So that's that one. There. They're on. So I put, you can see I put more on the bottom there because I want it quite dusty. I'll probably put a bit more around this area, a little bit on, a bit more here and here, and on the top part of this I'm going to be quite localized with it. I'm not going to go crazy because it's not the look I don't, like I say, it's not the look I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a complete dust right the way through. I'm just looking for a build up of dust. Okay. I must repair those bits in a minute. Oh. Right, so I'm going to move on to the tyres, or not the tyres, sorry, the wheels. I'm going to let this lot dry up a little bit, recheck it in a bit, take off any excess I want to take off, maybe add a bit more if I need to add a bit more. I don't think I do by the looks of it. I'm not doing in here at the moment because I'm still not 100% certain what I'm putting in there. So until I decide, obviously, I can come back in and add the bits and pieces in there, then whatever's left, dirty up, chip up a bit more, highlight, dry brush and highlight a few bits. But as I don't know what I want to put in there yet, I don't want to go too crazy in there because there's no point in doing all this work in there if it's never ever going to get seen. It's going to have like drums or jerry cans and stuff like that in there. So I'm going to leave that till I decide. Like I say, this was a kit that had been sat in there, built, but just left for probably about a year and a half, 2 years. So I'm only doing it as a video to do the techniques and that. Obviously, my next series of videos will probably be, I've got 1/16 Sherman to build, and I would like, if I'm gonna do it, once I get my camera sorted out as well, because been a bit of a pain sorting that out. I want to do a review and a full build of the kit, and that's like adding weld beads and all sorts of bits and pieces, what needs adding, if it's rubbish, I will tell you it is rubbish. So simple as that. And if I make mistakes or things don't go together the way they're going to be going together, then obviously we'll cover that. As anybody else that builds that kit, we'll see what's coming their way, sort of thing. So, but at the moment, let's get on and get these wheels done as well. Time's ticking on. wheels it is. Don't know if you notice, but I have, just to clear a bit of room, I have sort of started putting up, I'll put it back together a little bit. It's not a bad shout to do it every so often anyway, because you're building in different parts, here, there and everywhere, it keeps your eye on what it is that you're trying to weather up. So if you look at the side of that and that sort of thing now, you can see it's slowly coming together, and you can see that bits I've got to go back over yet. So like I say, I'm just letting them dry off a bit. Okay, so now this one's going to be more in around these areas. I'm not putting loads in. Some of this will do by thinning it out as well. So yeah. So you can put a bit in. This is just neat thinners going in there. Then you paint a little bit, just to get it in and run into around the nuts, bolts, around the rim here. Okay. It's a bit rough at the moment, but we will go back to it like we have been with everything else. More than what I wanted. It's okay. Trying to get it. There's a lip just there. I'm trying to get a nice little bit on that lip, because that's one of those places where you just naturally get lots of dust. And this lip in this bit here, it's one of those bits that just don't seem to if you look at anything, any lorry, they doesn't stay clean, just constantly looks a mess. So we'll get these wheels done, touch up a few little areas, and then I won't be doing any more washes. So after that will be basically we'll put a matte coat on it, start looking at some details, you know, seats, things like that, winch, because the winch cable needs to be nice and rusty. You might notice I haven't done the tyres yet. Once I matte coat it, I'll paint the tyres, and then we'll make them look nice and dusty on their own, because that's slightly, it's the same, but you want this lot to be a bit more stable and dry before you start fiddling around with that, really. Well, I think you do, but somebody might disagree. It's just how you work, I think. Right, we'll let that dry back. That's the trouble with these trucks, there's so many wheels on them. That's what's that, 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 wheels. Just can't seem to get into that groovy bit I'm on about there. Not without putting loads in. I don't really want to put loads in. I know I can take it off again, but also the more you put in, the longer it takes to dry. Right, get rid of some of this in a bit. So, looks a mess. I'm trying to get into these rims because they do get really minging. So Let that go for a bit. Go. Maybe brush out. I'll have a quick look back on there, see if there's anything I need to change in a minute. Right. Just going to go around through some of these places where it's quite harsh, where you get a harsh line. So we want more of a faded consistency, not so much, not like a dead line. Dust doesn't work that way. Like I say, just leave it for a minute, come back to it. So you see a few sharp lines just there. So we can fade those out a little bit. Staying in there. Not too bad. Right. So there you can see there, look. Need that for a minute. How harsh that's looking there. Trouble going in against the edge, really. You got that natural, like, straight line. That was me. I've just headbutted the camera. Let that dry back. A lot better, not such a harsh line. Yeah, look, you see there. You see it there. Look. So we fade that back if we can. Just dab it. Don't need to. Don't want brush marks or brush strokes, should I say? Yeah. Better. If I missed anything out. See, this is why you go back and check. I missed a little bit there, look. So for the colour that we're using, like I say, at the end of the day, you would not think it would be a good mix for like dusty effects, but I think it works quite well. I think most of the knack to doing or trying this is try not to overdo it. I think which is easier said than done sometimes. You know, you just get zoned out going, oh, that looks good, and away you go. I've done it many a time. I'm going to break all these off by the end of this build. I can see it coming. One bent and broke. Keep them up if I can, because they get end up sort of setting themselves in a position that they're broken for some reason. So I won't repair them until I'm finished messing around. So just have a double check around that. That side as well, look. That's all that bloody, it's all the gabbering you're doing it. Also, try and feather it in with a bit of extra terps around the top edges, because you will end up with a tide line where you've got two different coloured paints. And with this colour it seems to do it quite a lot, which is what I found out when I was doing the cab. You can probably get away with a few little brush strokes down underneath where dust may go like that. And I think, you notice I haven't done underneath. You're not going to see some of this, so let that go again. Check our chassis again. That should be the last time. If it's too bad, we can always get some off tomorrow. Need be. I don't know, this isn't too bad to me actually. It's apart from there, look. Not much on there. Yeah, a bit better. See the straight line? See the straight line? Camera's not picking it up. There's a line right there. Nice straight line. I'll try and feather that in a little bit. There you go. That's what I was meant to be checking is there. Not too bad. Not too bad. It's probably a little bit dustier than I want. Always take a little bit off. So, apart from obviously the wheels, I think that's pretty good for a minute. So both washes are done. Give it a bit of a matte coat to seal them in. This is what we've got so far. Nice bit of a getting the grimy look that we wanted. And the back. See what I mean about with the decals and matte coat? You wouldn't even notice it with decals. Shine's gone. Business end of it. So we've got lights and a few other bits and bobs to do in, like seats and other equipment to do. So we can get into the floor for you. Nice grimy cablet. So on the other side. A good picture inside the cab there. There, you see the floor looks nice and worn and used and dust. Still haven't decided about obviously the bits in the back, but I think looking alright at the moment. Obviously we've got things to do. Tyres have got to be painted in. Might have a couple little light acrylic washes with a bit of oil here and there, bit metallic, but we'll do some of that on the next video. Obviously it's not going to be as long as this video, and that should for a minute finish us off on this video, which should be good for everybody that's stuck in and watched it all. And we'll either look at doing something else a bit more to this, or just notice that one broke off that, or we'll start on the big Sherman build from start to finish. Okay, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. I'll try and grow this channel a bit more. I think this video is going to be in a weird mode. If it is, I do apologise. It's getting used to having this camera phone in a stand, and it doesn't tell you what mode it wants to be in until you've stopped filming, and by the time you've filmed things you can't go back and just redo it. So okay, let's hope you enjoy it so far. Hope you're building a long one, and if you do, please put your photos on. We've got a group on Facebook which is Man Cave Models UK. Join that, post your videos, questions, anything like that you want on it, just post them and we'll try our best to get back to you, or post your builds and tips if you've got any. Alright, see you again, bye.